بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. So Hazrat Hani rahmatullah alayhi, once somebody sent him a letter and he said that I wish to send a pair of shoes to you as a gift, and the cost of these shoes is 10 rupees, and in that time the 10 rupees was a significant price for a pair of shoes. So he said that I can't wear 10 rupees shoes, because he said that if I wear this, my head will just go sar jayega, I'll get a headache. One of the reasons it's possible is because if I got 10 you got such expensive shoes, then it just feel like all the time my mind on the shoes. You don't get damaged, you don't get something goes on them. I mean, there's a person, he had a new car, so he was so obsessed with like anything that goes on it, like it's each time you get the car, like something happens, like wipe it down, clean it down, because it's a new car, so you have to look after it. You feel so sometimes the new thing, not always, but sometimes you have something which is very, very expensive, and more expensive than necessary. It causes you more tension than the benefit. You're so worried about it being damaged or getting. So sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one that gives you peace of mind, peace of heart. The things that we use, these are things that can give you peace of mind, peace of heart. You have a good computer, a good laptop, it can make things easy for you. You have a good phone, it can make things easy for you. You got a good pair of shoes, it can make things easy for you. But it's not necessarily going to bring you peace of mind, bring you comfort. These are asbab and means of comfort. They're not guarantee of comfort. That's why we adopt them. This is the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the world, but we don't become over obsessed with them. And sometimes when you have such things, they distract you. You're more focused on certain things around you than actually enjoying the thing yourself. And along with this, he says here, and he mentions a few things. So there's nothing wrong. Okay, you have to understand something. There's nothing wrong with having good clothing, even moderately expensive clothing, a good piece of clothing, the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, our ulama, especially the ulama who we've studied from, link up all the way to the ulama of Deoband, their imtiyaz and their khususiyah was simplicity. So if somebody doesn't do that, somebody thinks there's a reason why I wear expensive clothes, why I wear clothes. For example, they could be thinking that if I wear, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would wear a special pair of clothing when the wufood would come. So there are ways you can tell. I'm giving a khutbah, so I need to for the azama of the khutbah, azama of the bayan, azama of the imama. You can wear special clothes. There's nothing. But what we have learned from our elders is that simplicity. Throughout, they've always chosen simplicity. And in many stories regarding this, one person was him. I think it was Muhammad Hassan Deobandi rahmatullah. He's the first graduate of Deoband. Somebody came to meet him, and obviously there was no Facebook or Instagram or pictures, so they didn't know what he looked like. So when he came, it was a long story, but at the end he was wearing a trousers or a lungi or a going cloth and a vest. So when the person who came to see him was a great scholar, he thought that he was one of the workers. The simplicity way he used to live. Same thing with Malaqasna, all of our ulama. That was the simplicity they always conduct themselves with. So it's not haram, nothing wrong with it. But sometimes you do feel that sometimes when it creates more of an azama, or when the ulama live life simplicity. That even if it's permissible, it comes out of halal. The Prophet ﷺ, some ulama said you shouldn't say the Prophet was poor. This is disrespect for the Prophet ﷺ. He chose poverty. He chose a life of simplicity. It wasn't that he couldn't afford it. If the Prophet ﷺ could turn a nation who used to urinate in a masjid and got buried their daughters alive into super conquerors within 10-15 years, he could do anything. He could have amassed millions and billions of wealth, but nobody could amass. He was a genius. But he didn't do that, so he chose this. But despite the Prophet ﷺ, if you look at everything he used to do, when he was traveling from one place to Banu Qurayza, what he had, ajaz dabba, he had a himar. So he could have had a horse, he could have had a mule, he could have had an ibil, a camel, but he chose to convey on a dabba. The Prophet ﷺ entering Makkah, he comes right at the back. I want to be humble, at the back. I know it's going to conquer. You don't need to fight. I'm not going to have to fight. We'll conquer very easily. So I don't need to be at the front. And he said at the back. Yes. The Prophet ﷺ, how do you say? How do I eat? Abd. So in all of the Prophet ﷺ things, he chose simplicity. He chose what it was without being ungrateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he would always choose simplicity. The way he would eat, the clothing he would wear. It would be very, very simple. So we should all try to adopt this. So if somebody, Allah gives somebody wealth and they choose to wear something without extravagance, without showing off, without having fakhr and mubahat, it's permissible. But our elders and our ulama have always taught us to be simple. So even if you have the wealth, even if you can, choose the way of simplicity. If it goes into mubahat and mufakhara, there's even haram. Because we find in Kitab al-Libas, in all the books of hadith, what's the madhamma of the illah and the reason behind all of the clothing that's haram or whatever is show pride, arrogance. So we should try to live a very, very simple life. When you have a simple life, then it becomes easier for a person to live. And sometimes when your comfort level or your comfort threshold reaches a certain level, to go below that is difficult. Let's say, for example, you just have a simple lunch every day. Now, if you start eating, like, let's say, for example, in the villages in India, what used to happen, they would khichdi curry every day. And nobody said get tired of eating khichdi curry. Khichdi curry is basically rice and some yogurt. Every day that was a once in a while you get some meat. Once in a while you get something else. Nobody ever complained. That's what life is. Now, when you have everything, if you have one meal twice in 2 days, it's like, how come you have the same food again? Now, to lower your standards become difficult. So the more you raise your standards, and the more difficult life becomes. I remember once I went one place, traveling one person. So he wanted Indian tea. Now, when you go to Egypt, you're not going to get Indian tea because they don't know Indian tea, Egyptian tea. So Indian tea means that you get. So he's trying to explain to them. So it took him about half an hour, and eventually he had to go in the hotel kitchen himself and make it because they're not going to make Indian tea in it. So it's this to get, and you can have a breakfast in 10-15 minutes and get on your work. So obviously, it's not like Umrah or something. But if you say, no, I need to have this tea, I can't survive. Maybe it's natural. Maybe for him, it was natural to get headaches and you need that kind of tea. But again, the more things you have in your life, then the more you have it becomes more motivated. The more simple you are, you can get through. So some people can sleep anywhere. So, I mean, it's also nature. Don't criticize anybody for this. But for yourselves, try to make it as simple as possible, least formalities as possible, least takallufat, so that life becomes very easy. And when you do this, some ulama, again, I said don't criticize anybody, but for ourselves. Now, when you have what happens when you have a bigger goal, the lower goal is sacrifice. So if you look, for example, like even for non-Muslims, like Barack Obama, I think he's had two color suits. That's it. So he had many suits, but I think 2 color suits, a blue and a black. That's it. You don't have to worry what color matches what. That's it done. Steve Jobs had the black and the grey or whatever. Even the Facebook guy, what's the Facebook guy called? Zuckerberg. Same. They don't have a thing. Wine buffet. And because you got bigger things to do. So instead of wasting 25 minutes, half an hour, 2 hours, 1 hour in the morning, figuring out what kind of shoes, I've just got it done out the way. So it does seem to happen that when you got bigger goals in life, the other things which are less important become sacrifice. And when you have bigger goals in life, then the shoes become very important. That one dot on your jubba that has got a little scratch, that becomes very important. So we should have bigger goals in life. Our bigger goals is serving the deen, protecting the deen, learning knowledge, passing on the knowledge, propagating the religion. So all of these things are more important to us. So these clothes and all these other things are like similar food as well. There's one statement we should have in Al-Muntakhabat that there is no good in ikhwan and brothers and ashab who are abidu butunihim. That is slaves to the stomach. Meaning the only thing that they think about or worry about is where they're going to fill the stomach next. So yes, you can have the ni'mah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Eat, kulu washrabu, wa la tusrifu, wa man harrama zinata Allah allati akhraja li ibadihi. It's not haram. But in there, the sunnah and the way of our elders is that we adopt a life of simplicity. And you don't, if Allah is giving ni'mah, you don't live a life below that ni'mah so much that you put yourself in inconvenience. But you chose the average and just above average, or even if you can get below average where you don't inconvenience yourself. This seems to be the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We should try to adopt this humility and simplicity in our lives. And I give thought.